about price, value, and worthiness, because this comes up all the time with basically all of my clients in one way or another. So this talk is really for if you own a business, I'm talking to you, but also if you just want to make more money, even if you're in an employment situation and you're just wanting to really make more money, this talk is also for you. So what we're going to go over today is just understanding the difference between price, value, and worthiness. And what I want you to come away with is an understanding of how you see value and the impact that that makes in your energy, and the impact that that makes in what you're like, how you're going to feel when you ask for things. And this is a really, really big deal. So give me just one second when I figure out something on my text side. All right, so let's talk about it. So first, the expression charge your worth is absolute nonsense. And here's why. First of all, your worth is inherent as a being. And so that's got nothing to do with the value of the service or the product that you provide in the marketplace. They're absolutely unrelated. Now, a lot of people, I will also just mention, have a ton of issues around their own sense of worthiness. Most of us, our sense of worthiness can be damaged in childhood or through life. And so plenty of people who are massively successful, who are ruling the world, literally don't feel worthy. I've been in masterminds and rooms of incredibly successful people, and I've literally never met anybody that does not have some flavor of worthiness issue. Like we all do. So we don't want to be setting our prices based on our worthiness, because some of us literally have a lot of trouble feeling our own inherent sense of worthiness. So let's just put that at the forefront. So we do not want to have our ability to be healed, or our ability to feel our own sense of worthiness, to be attached to how much money we can make, because they're just not at all the same. So first and foremost, the second thing is, when you're putting your worth on the price that you charge, you're making it about you, and it's not about you. People are not buying your worth. They're just not. Nobody gives a shit. Nobody gives a shit how your sense of worthiness is when they're buying something for them. All right. When I say it like that, you're like, oh yeah, obviously, right? Like when you buy my courses, or you're like, oh, that barista Dano, her sense of worthiness is on. No, you're like, does she teach me the thing that I want to know? Yes. Okay. So let's just put worth aside. So this means that when we're charging for something, we're charging for the value that the buyer gets in the marketplace. Now, sometimes their value runs in layers, and depending on where your level of wealth or poverty consciousness is, and how you've more or less been trained to see things, you may not see all of the layers of value. Why this is important, why this is so important, is because your ability to see your own worth is your ability to convey that value, and that is basically the underlying bit of how you're able to get paid for it. So if you don't see your own value, you're not getting paid for it. Let me give you an example. So I've worked with so many women who say, oh, this work that I'm so talented and skilled in, and I've practiced for years, it only takes me a little bit of time, and it's so easy. It's so easy. So I only charge a little bit of money. So if you don't see the value of the thing that you're doing, right? That to me says, I don't see the value of my work. You're going to be undercharging for it. And that's just the way that goes. So in this talk, I want to just explain to you what the layers of value are. And this is a practice. And for real, if you want to make more money, practice seeing what I'm teaching you to see in this video. Practice seeing it for yourself, practice seeing it for other business owners, practice seeing it for products and services that are provided. Now, what I'm not saying is that you should buy things that you can't afford just because you can see the value, but your ability to see the value in other people, or in other businesses, or in other offers, helps you to reflect that back. And so eventually, or you're going to want to be able to do this for your own work and for your own self. But let's just get started. All right, so we have the deliverables. So that's always the first thing that people buy. And so for this example, I'm going to use a dog trainer. So let's just say I'm selling dog training lessons. You have a dog that needs to be trained, or whatever. I'm going to just use this example to demonstrate. So the deliverables may be however I convey that service. Now, let's just say I'm a well experienced. So you're going to get a book, a couple of videos, some in-person lessons, and like all the tools required to train this dog. So that's the deliverable, right? So that's what you're essentially buying from me. Now, that deliverable is how the result is going to come to be. Now, what you're really buying is a well-behaved dog. That's what you're really buying. You're really buying a well-behaved dog who follows commands, who does not pee on the floor, who does whatever well-behaved dogs do. I actually don't have a dog, so bear with my example, okay? All right, so let's just start to go through the layers of this. So first, there's the intangible layers of value. Now, in the dog training, the bulk of what we're buying is actually in the intangibles, right? So first, I want you to understand, what does your work save this person from? Like, what problem does this solve, or what way does this get them out of some flavor of pain? So in the example of the dog trainer, so let's just say your dog is peeing on the floor, your dog is chewing things up, and so let's just add up the cost of a dog, puppy chews and carpet replacements. So now look at, we have substantial cost. Now you add that over the lifetime of a dog. Let's just say they only misbehave their younger years, right? Half of the lifetime of a dog, what's that, 6, 7, 8 years, depending on your dog, right? So if we have 8 years of potential carpet replacements or chewed shoes, right? I know that I spend some money on shoes, right? So chewed shoes, chewed bags, chewed whatever, you start to see, what are you saving these people from? And that goes in that's a real value, because that's something that they'd already spent money on. That's something that they already have that is being destroyed because of this situation. All right. Now, what does that mean for them? Well, that means probably a sense of peace. It means less shopping. It means, less frustration. It means being less angry when they come home. It means being able to enjoy their dog instead of having to constantly maneuver. If you have a dog that really misbehaves, it might mean things like not having to pay for like doggy daycare or babysitting for your dog. Right? And so all of these things come with a cost. Okay, so this is one layer of value. Now listen, the other side of intangibles is what's the flip? Is there a status increase, right? Because the intangibles go out of pain and into pleasure. And so honestly, I feel like it's probably embarrassing to have a really poorly behaved dog, right? Like whenever I see people's dogs misbehaving, they apologize and will justify it. They'll say things like, oh, she's a rescuer. It's a, like, they feel, there's some flavor of not liking that behavior, so they're having to deal with that. So, what's the benefit? So they get the benefit of having a well-behaved dog. They get the benefit of not having to replace their carpets. They get the benefit of not having to pay for doggy daycare. They get the benefit of feeling like a sense of safe and calm when they go to take their dog out, that their dog's going to behave. If you have, if depending on the issue that the dog had, that may be a really big deal. That may increase your feelings of safety with your children around the dog or whatever else. And so you want to, and listen, I'm not a dog trainer, so I don't have every single one of these listed out, but I just wanted to use this as an example, right? So you want to list out the pain points that your service or product saves people from and their level of status increase. So now you're starting to see the value on both sides. So it's like this problem goes away and then you get this. So you don't have to replace your carpet, and you can spend that money on vacation instead. Delightful, right? Okay, then we want to start looking at the ripple effect. So in ripple effect, sometimes our behavior around something changes other people's behaviors around something. So in this example, it might be like, let's just say you're a dog family. Well, you learn how to train your dog and you set a good example and you model great behavior for your kids to train their dogs. Or let's just say you have a sister or brother who's got a poorly behaved dog, and when you go over their house, you're able to offer tips and tricks on how to get their dog to behave better. Or let's just say on the other side too, like the negative side, let's just say your family didn't want to come over because your dog jumped on them or barked at them or nipped at them, right? And now your family, feels safe to come over. So there's a ripple effect that's not directly tied to the thing that you do. So like in my work, for example, a lot of times when my clients tidy up their relationship with money, their children also tidy up their relationships with money. Even though their children had no interaction with me, it was the change that the parents made, that they worked with me, that then their kids come out with really, really different behaviors. So That's the ripple effect. Sometimes there's even legacy effect in the dog training. So I mean, in the dog training, we're kind of stretching it a little bit. But let's just say, my kids then know how to train dogs. They are already set up for a lifetime of success with their dogs. They know how to pick dogs. They know how to train dogs. They know how to behave with dogs. And honestly, it adds a whole layer of joy, a whole layer of joy to their life, and then there may be future payoffs. So, actually, in the example of the dog training, there may be a future payoff, but I haven't examined it all that thoroughly. But listen, so I want you to look at this. And if you wanted to grab a notebook and, put it down, put it like a line down the middle and write like the negatives, like, so the pain points that your product or service saves people from, and all of the benefits, all the different flavors of increase that they get to their life from your product or service. So start with your deliverables and write those down, because that's like important to understand. But really what they're really, really, really buying is the intangibles. They're buying the intangibles. They're buying the ripple effect. They're buying the legacy effect. They're buying future payoffs. And the more that you can see that, the more that you understand what people are really buying from you, the more you can convey that value to them, and the more that you can and the more that you see, the more that you can ask for, and the more what you ask for makes sense to your buyer, right? Like, that's basically the way that it goes. So if I only look at my deliverables, if I'm like, well, you buy this book valued at $17, you buy these training videos, valued at $59, you buy, 6 one-on-one sessions with me that are, let's say, I don't know, $500 each. Now, if we're only looking at time, that doesn't make sense to people. They're going to have a hard time swallowing that, because most people don't see value. Most people only see the value of time. And when people have a little bit more of a poverty consciousness, and I feel like poverty is really like a harsh word for this, but if it's poverty and wealth consciousness, those are the words that I have to use on this. When somebody only sees the value of time, you'll hear them say shit like, "Oh, well, I'm a nurse. Why should this dog trainer make more money than, like, why do I make $70 or what? I don't know. I'm making these numbers up. $70 an hour when the dog trainer makes $500 an hour." Like, it gets wild to people, and they'll feel some flavor of offended. And so when you, as a salesperson, and again, this is true even in employment situations. Although in employment situations, sometimes you have to find a different employer. Not all employers are going to see the value of everything that you do, and that's okay. So if I'm only looking at the deliverables, prices sometimes don't make sense to people, because they're like, "Oh, you charge this much per hour? I don't make that per hour." Blah, 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 blah. And you're like, no, this is like how I deliver the result. What you're buying is not having to replace your carpets. What you're buying is not having to get your kids stitches. What you're buying is, not having your family not want to come over. You're not buying having to clean up a puddle of piss every single fucking day of your life. Like, that's really what you're buying. What you're buying is a well-behaved dog. What you're buying is enjoying your walks. What you're buying is, not having to pay for doggy daycare every day, at the tune of, let's say, $400 a month or whatever. Like, this is what you're buying. And you have, like, the more that you can convey that to people, the better that they can understand it. I'll give you an example, and then I'm going to wrap up because I got a meeting that starts at 9. So at one point I had this conversation has happened actually in my practice many times, but I had a woman who was overspending to the tune of $40,000 a year. She's buying stupid shit. It's going in a landfill. Stuff that doesn't make her happy. Stuff that she's not traveling. Like, she's buying literal stupid shit. It's emotional spending, and most of this is going on credit cards. Where then additionally she's spending another, what's that? Another $8,000 a year on credit card interest for the stupid shit that she bought last year. Right? So she's overspending, and now she's paying, $8,000 a year is a lot of money. It's several $100 a month, right? And so I offer her the thing. And at the time I was selling a $6,000 package, and it included work, it included coursework, it included some group time, but it included 6 one-on-one sessions with me. And so she does the math and she says, "Well, these are $500 a session." And I was like, "Okay." And she was like, "Well, that's like more than surgeons make." And I was like, well, oh, okay. And she was like, well, I want to pay you $150 a session and I'll just come see you when I want. And I was like, absolutely not. That's not at all what I offer. And I said to her point blank, I was like, listen, you have a problem that cost you $8,000 in credit card interest that you've been paying for the last 10 years and that you're on track to pay for another 10 years. That's $80,000 of credit card interest that if you don't address is for sure coming your way. You're overspending by somewhere between $30,000 and $40,000 a year on these emotional problems that we've like already gotten to the root of. We just need to put a plan in place. I said, you have no money for retirement. And if you redirect that money toward the things that you're going to want, toward retirement, you're probably going to be able to eat food in retirement. If you leave this problem in place, you're not. I have a solution to the problem and it takes about 6 months to deliver and it comes in 6 meetings. You can buy the solution or you cannot buy the solution. I charge what I charge. And she bought the thing because at the end of the day, it's not about the price of my time. It's about what I deliver. And so anyways, the more that you feel confident in that, the more that you feel solid in that, the more that you're going to be able to articulate that, and the more that you're going to be able to stand when people give you a really strong price objection. And it's like other people's ideas about time and money and expertise, that's not about you. You don't have to deal with that. You'll obviously respond to the price objection because you're a kind and sweet person. But if you want to be charging top dollar, this understanding all of the layers of value is what gives you like the confidence to be able to charge top dollar. All right. So listen, I have a 2-day live event that's happening in Connecticut, September 12th and 13th. It's called the Top Dollar Method. So if you're a service-based business owner who's a woman and you want to come to my 2-day event and learn how to charge top dollar prices, that's what you're gonna come away with an offer that's ready to go, ready to sell. So there's that. And then also I have space in my mastermind. It's called Limitless Wealth. And in that mastermind, I'm helping women who have service-based businesses scale beyond 6 figures. So you can see the link for Limitless Wealth in the chat or in the description, and maybe just shoot me a note if you want the link to the event. All right. I love you. Appreciate you. Bye.